Hi, this is Miss Wright, and today is the 8th of April 2025. I just wanted to give you guys a little more details about my past and my history and things that I've done and where I live. Outside of the homes I showed you in Michigan, another area I showed you when I was younger. There's also homes that I got built in some homes that I lived in, but this happened to be one of them. During the time when I invested and revitalized a lot of the Dearborn, Michigan area, I would have to journey from downtown or to Bloomfield Hills, which is another area where I have a home that I lived in. So because I was building in some of the this area, homes and revitalizing so much, I decided, instead of making the commute back and forth, let me go ahead and, build something here that's convenient, and that way I can rest. I don't have to travel so far. And I did like this community here. So I built this home here. It's on Morley and Monroe. And this is a simple home, and when I built the home, so when I built this home, the kids would walk to the park down here, further down, and I would get a lot of trash. It would sometimes walk past, and there'd be trash on my lawn in the morning, and the person who did like the gardening and everything, I said, well, what can we do to stop this? And he's like, well, you know what, we can put rocks. So you see, like, there's so then he designed it where there's so many rocks, and I was like, oh my goodness. And before I knew it, I'm like, I might as well call this the rock house. So I used to joke about it because of the the lawn and how everything was built. It was, it would be considered the the rock house. At the time, my daughter was very young, and I stayed here in this home here. So, but what ended up happening is, as you can see, what happens. But I haven't been to this home in a very long time after the advent of my memory loss. I just happened to be in the area, going past a lot of the different things that I built and investments, and went down the street and noticed my car, a white Rolls Royce, and then I also had a green Cadillac. So I went, I'm like, wait a minute, this is my house. This is where I live. This is my car. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, what, I'm like really trying to understand what happened. But it's very interesting that what happened. But this is just a home that was built, and it's 220000. So as you see, this is and one of the cars is still in the driveway, but my white Rolls Royce is not. It was in the driveway, so that means someone is actually driving a car that I purchased. What happened here is that when there was a loss of memory, a lot of people obviously took over things, my properties and different things, and I was unaware of it because I didn't have memory of what happened. And so I'm just now becoming aware of some of the things that happened and recalling them and going back to different places where I developed, different places where I live, different places where that's familiar to me. But I never gave anyone authorization to take over this property. In fact, what ended up happening is that there were people that I was that I knew for a long time since I was a young girl, and even they were involved in kind of saying that they were my actual blood family, which I later found out were not. The males, a few of the males that was a part of that family, one day actually met up with me, and one of the females, which they would be considered like my brothers and sisters, but not really blood related. And we met up in this area in a neighborhood restaurant, and they kind of, I guess you would say, were physical and said, "You're not going to go back to your home, and you're going to stay," and threatened me, "and you're going to stay in this apartment," which was an apartment down the street, down the way from this area. It's just maybe like a few blocks over, a corner apartment, and had me in there and said, "Well, we're gonna say that you're a drug addict," and actually forced drugs into my system, and had me in there for, I don't know exactly how long, but it was quite some time, and would pretty much threaten me that they would harm my children if I did not stay in that apartment, and I could not go back to my home because they would have, did some harm to me. So I was planning, it became a legal issue, but I was kind of placed inside of that apartment until I actually escaped and got out of there, after being, drugged and placed in a position that was, very scary at the time. Like I mentioned, it became a legal issue, but there's very small pieces of that scenario that occurred. Prior to that, I was living in this home. I was developing the Dearborn, Michigan area, very involved in all the businesses around here, this community I lived, the people I knew. I had someone who would babysit my daughter right in this area. These everyone knew me, even the children, even the area, even the because I had a daughter, and I was involved in so many community businesses, redeveloping or just building from the ground up. Practically most of the area along Michigan Avenue, in Dearborn, Michigan. So, and also the downtown area and just many other areas, and Bloomfield Hills as well. Even like I mentioned before, the Troy Collection Mall, that was another thing that I actually was, I built. I opened up stores. So I was well known, and unfortunately, there were people that just didn't like the fact of the things that I did, and decided to do something adverse to me in my life. And it happened around the time when I was living in this home here. So I will give you a little bit more detail, but right now I'm just kind of walking past, and I wanted to mention that because it's important to who I am and what happened in my past. So again, this is Nasura. Actually, when I say Nasura, this is a lot of it. I have my family that lives in the UK, and again, I'm royalty, and that's where I pretty much was a large part of my life when I was younger. I grew up, but then also here. But and I went to school in the United States, but I also went to school in Europe as well. But I'm getting, like, when I show you my music career, someone is calling me, and as I mentioned in the video, what happened, and they have a different name, and then I go inside the book that I wrote, and then they have, and it's like Aya J in reference to me. So there was actually a lot of accomplishments that I did in my life, and some of them reference the nicknames that people called me, or actually my name. And I just wanted to kind of share that with you. Like in the video, they say Tiana, Tiana, you know, or Tianka, you know. So that's in, you know, the Yeah Right video. But anyway, this is just one of them. This is one of my homes. I own many homes in many places, but this is one of them. This was having to do with some of the homes that I was developing along this area, along Woodward Avenue and Bloomfield Hills. There were many beautiful homes over there, and there was other areas that we were building from the ground up. You know, these were just investments all around areas of the city of Detroit. But because it was convenient for me, rather than travel and commute, I decided to kind of have a small home here. And this is actually the home that I and I could never ever forget, because of the fact of my the actual yard. And I call it the Rock House. I named it the Rock House. So again, I just want to say that tidbit. Peace. Thank you so much for listening. And I'll give you more information about what happened prior to the memory loss that occurred. So thank you again. Bye.